Shirley Hughes serves as the president of brand marketing for RC PMK, Rogers Cowan PMK. Hughes oversees a team of 185 employees that develop and execute marketing, experiential, PR, influencer, talent, music, and entertainment strategy as an integrated offer into Rogers Cowan PMK's more than 30 global brand clients. Fortune 100 brands represented by you include Cisco, GM, Heineken, McDonalds, Microsoft, or Verizon. Like Shirley, I know you worked with amazing brands, and so many of brands we worked with are also your clients. And also as a female leader, like you oversee your team and you lead your team to serve amazing clients, and you have done so many great campaigns that you briefly mentioned with us. So we can't wait to learn from you, and we would love to hear your stories. So without further ado, Shirley, you have our platform. We're very grateful for you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here. It's good to look out into the crowd of names and pictures and see folks that I work with today, some folks that I've actually worked with at some other companies in the past, and some friends and a little bit of family along the way. So I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to chat with you ladies today about everything that we all face, you know, daily in our lives as well. So again, thanks you so much for the invitation, and especially to Kate, who I've known for quite a while. So thank you.
Yes, big shout out to Kate, our producer of Resilience to Rise and our partnerships director. We love Kate Kelly. So Shirley, we're going to dive right in. We're going to ask you a ton of questions tonight. And everyone, this conversation, we also want you to participate. So if you have questions, if you want to ask something, please feel free to drop it in our chat box. Summer and I will help field questions, but we want to hear from you as well. So Shirley, you run a very impressive roster of clients that Summer just mentioned, some of the really large names, and you were such an integral part of the merger between RNC and PMK BNC. So how have you been managing during COVID, and how do you balance? Is balance even a thing? And how do you find time for yourself? So tell us a little bit about the merger and COVID and what's been happening right now in your world.
That's a loaded first question.
Get right in.
We'll unpack it piece by piece. So first of all, you know, RNC PMK merged actually a little over a year ago, almost a year and a half ago, and it's been a really interesting journey as you know put these two really big powerhouse and industry leaders together. And one of my favorite things to do in the business is work on M&A and those sorts of things. So it's been a lot of fun for me. I love getting to know people and the psychology behind how you put teams together and how you service clients. So that's actually been really great. And you know, we haven't been perfect, and nothing is, but we've all worked and coalesced really well together, and it's been a really fun experience. You know, then as we started our first year together as an agency, then hit COVID. And it's been, for all of us, I think it's been interesting. Personally for me, I typically travel, let's say 50% of the time, and to be grounded for over 6 months has been really interesting, what that does alone. Second, I really, well, pre-COVID, I did not like to work from home, was not that person. I like to walk the halls. I like to, you know, be with the teams. I like to be in client meetings, just to be the energy around the culture of the building. It's super important to me. And so that was a really huge adjustment, and had to get in my routine, like I think we all have, of, okay, what do I need to do to get myself ready for work? So, okay, I actually need to do X, Y, Z for myself in the morning, work out, or you know, again, we were joking earlier about, you know, even how you get ready for Zoom calls has changed from the beginning to maybe how you do it now. So that took a lot of, for me, it took a lot of adjustment, and I had to get into a routine, and it took a bit. And I think now it's just about, you know, the balance thing is hard, you know, because you can get up in the morning and you can go check your computer, and you don't, and next thing you know, it's 2 hours, and you're like, oh, I didn't get on the Peloton, but I'm looking at this, yelling at me going, please, I'm over here. Or you didn't get, you know, to spend that, you know, half hour maybe that you wanted to call your mom, or whatever you wanted to do. It's really been interesting. And I think an evolution, and we're, you know, we coach our teams in this too, and giving people permission to take a break. and giving myself permission to take a break and et cetera. And so it's constantly changing. And as we know, every day is throwing something new at us in the world. So it's definitely a challenge every day to make sure that I take that time for sure.
Totally amazing, Shirley. I think it's very interesting because people would feel like, oh, you work from home, so you have more time to relax and take a break. But honestly, it's not always the case. So my next question for you, you already answered a part of it, but we want to hear from you for the second part. So what has been the most difficult part of your job during the past couple of months? And what has been the most rewarding one?
Again, for me, I think I already said it. Yeah, getting used to working from home. I think, again, not being able to see my team in New York in person. I have a big team in LA and a big team in New York, and Zoom, I can't see the people in LA either, but it just feels even farther away knowing that they're in a whole other city. It's been interesting trying to keep people's spirits up, trying to keep your teams motivated, trying to keep make sure your teams have balance, and giving them, like I said, permission to take time that they need. Trying to help our parents that we have. I don't have children, and I really empathize and sympathize with all of you guys trying to juggle everything, that have families with school back in session and stuff. So it's really learning how to navigate all that, because that's a whole new normal. I mean, we're all used to going and coming back home, and again, stepping away. It's been really interesting for me, and just that balance and really leading a team when you can't sit down, in the same room with them and do those things. It's been a challenge, but we're figuring it out, right?
Exactly.
Like we're doing what we can, the best that we can.
Exactly. And that was like my question for you too.
A little easier on ourselves someday, maybe, from that perspective.
How do you?
And what has been the most rewarding experience?
I think it's seeing hasn't suffered for our clients, which has been amazing to watch. And I'm really proud of, leading a team that's risen to that occasion.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you, because it's so hard to manage a team and lead a team remotely, and especially you have offices by coastal. So really admire you for that. And our next question is, we know that this COVID has been a very such an event that bring us all of the hardships for our world. But sometimes a forced slowdown puts things in perspective in a way that were not before. So what has been the best thing about this pandemic of you personally? So right now we can talk about personal life.
Yeah, no. I would say it's caused me to slow down, right? It's allowed me to slow down from not always on a plane, or, spending time either, I think a bunch of people did this, right? So a group of my friends, once a week, we have a Zoom call where I wouldn't go with even some of those friends for 3-4 weeks, even that live in LA with me, and connect with them. Definitely connecting, having more time with my husband, because we travel so much. Spending time and just being. I think that's been a benefit that I'm trying to, and I don't know that I would ever want to go back to crazy. We'll see what happens, but it's definitely been a moment for me to realize that it's okay just to give myself permission to slow down, and the ability to connect more, and again, spend more time with my husband as well has been great because of the travel I'm not doing. And he's on here, so just so you know, he's all listening in. But
I love the support here. And Shirley,
Yeah.
have you learned or discovered anything new about yourself that surprised you? Because this time is like forcing us to slow down and dig deep, and different emotions are coming up now that we have time to deal with them. But did anything come up for you that you were like, wow?
I think it's a really interesting question. I think maybe the fact that I've actually liked working from home now, like I actually enjoy it because of the flexibility that it gives me, and that whole thing. Again, I know I'll end up being back. I think my ability I don't shut off. My brain never stops. It doesn't, and I still have that issue. But I've been impressed with a little bit of myself being able to now. Again, I have a great husband and he pushes me to do that. So to actually take that moment in time, I guess I'm surprised I've been able to do that as much as I have, and not enough, but I'm getting there. And I think it's a work in progress, as they say. We're all work in progress, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And surely it's like our industry is also very interesting because we're in marketing. So in the past, we do a lot of events, and you also do a lot of entertainment strategy, which means you constantly work with like world A-list major events and all of the in-person events. So, but ever since COVID has happened, how have things fundamentally changed, and what will our new norm look like? And especially maybe in our industry.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, what's been interesting to see too is how, the first part of, at least from my opinion, the first part of COVID and while watching our clients, everybody was like, what do we do? And then people have settled in and really, with our clients, it really helped them pivot to what they need to do. They're still marketers. They need to do things right now. They may not be spending money on events, but they might be doing something else. And watching that change, at least I would say, we're here for a while, and how some of those things change, but how we've guided clients into saying, hey, you can't do this, but why do we do this? Because it will help your business, and continuing to do those things. We're very lucky at our agency because we're very diverse in what we do. We don't just do PR, we do experiential, we do influencer, we do strategy work, we do digital, social, we do creative. So we do a lot of different things. So we're lucky in that, that we've been able, to be successful during this time, because we've been able to go, all right, again, because we can't do this, we can, let's maybe think about doing something like this, working with, content, etc. So that's been interesting. And I think with the new normal, I think it's number one, we're all realizing that we can have Zoom calls and still do deals and still win business and still, be successful at it. I think that's something that's a new norm that we've realized it's harder, and you have to pay more attention, and when you're being engaged when you're on a Zoom call, very different than being in the room with somebody. But I think we've realized that that can happen, and we can be successful that way, and how that changes even how people put budgets together. Do you need as large of a travel budget as you used to have? Do you need, all those things? I think people will really rethink, at least I think in the next, couple of years at least, if not longer. And it'll impact a lot of things, everything from how we, have a company meeting to how our clients do their work. So I think we don't really know. I think, as we all know, things change on the daily, whether you're in New York or LA, or what city you're in or what country you're in. We know London's going a little bit of a lockdown again. Australia's having challenges. So again, it's really regional too. And, managing a large team with that, you have to take the nuances into that, even where your clients are, right? They might be sitting in Texas, or they're sitting in wherever, and really understanding what they're going through. So I would just say it's a constant, it's never going to stop evolving until, it's just going to continue.
Thank you. And kind of speaking of that, Shirley, what brands do you see innovating and evolving to meet this new set of standards, just for everything that's happening right now in our world, this different, interesting landscape? Is there anyone that's standing out for you that you think they're doing a fabulous job right now?
Well, I have to say some of our clients, obviously, but, I think there are those that are delivering, it's interesting, because I think out of any sort of situation like this, new industries are created, right? New industries thrive, and then obviously other industries don't. So I think those industries are interesting that have found an opportunity, to thrive in this time, because they're providing a need that people have, and what they're doing with that. Who knew the PPE industry was going to be so big? I know people that were in it before this, and they're like, who knew, this was going to be such a thing. So I think it's interesting to watch that, whether it's like how a DoorDash has pivoted, and how, all those sorts of things, or how our clients, such as a MasterCard, has pivoted how they're delivering these priceless experiences to their consumers, and they've had to do it very differently, and we've been there with them. How our Northwell client that we worked with in New York really helped honor, started honoring veterans, and this year turned into honoring the healthcare workers, and how we were able to do that, and brands that can pivot and be mindful of what's going on in society, at the same time be authentic and market their brands, I think is really important, and brands that can do that, whether it's COVID, whether it's social injustice, whether it's again, a new industry is really interesting to watch. So I hope that answers. Like, again, there's a lot of clients or a lot of brands doing a lot of really interesting things.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Yeah, and also in your career, because right now your career, you are very advanced and you are leading a team of almost like over 200 employees and representing global brands. So at your position, I feel like we have the honor to have the conversation with you. You constantly share your knowledge with us to help us advance. But in your career or just personal life, who inspires you and why?
Well, first of all, thank you again. It's an honor, to have the opportunity to run the teams that I have, and the building of my career all along the way. I'm really inspired by the people that I work with. I have an amazing group of folks that I work with all day long and that I learn from all day long, and they drive me to do better, and because you know, they deserve that. And you know, I have mentors throughout my career that inspire me as well. People within my company and people outside of my company, women and men, quite frankly, that inspire me because of how they're great leaders. And I'm not saying it because he's on here, but my husband inspires me because he's like always happy. And I'm like, how are you always happy? And he's always happy. So he inspires me on a daily basis too. So there's a lot of people, I think, depending upon different, you know, parts of my life, you know, my family. I have a lot of, you know, a very successful sister-in-law who's a really great person I bounce stuff off of as a woman leader. So there's a lot of different people that inspire me daily, but I'm blessed, you know, to have that opportunity and to work side by side with those people and have them in my life.
Thank you, Shirley. And kind of dovetailing off that, you are such an incredible leader and you're a major champion for women. And you're acting right now as the co-chair for the Women's Leadership Network at IPG. So can you tell us a little bit about this initiative and why this work is so important for you and what's the most exciting part of it for you?
Yeah, so WLN is really an amazing program. IPG is a company, which we are a part of, is an Interpublic group, is very supportive of all different communities. And we have these employee groups, and women's leadership is one of them that I was asked to co-chair on the West Coast, and I said yes. I think what we do is we're trying to make sure that all of the women, and by the way, we have men that participate as well, which is really great because we need our allies. So this isn't a one-sided conversation. And we're really happy to see that the men have joined in the events and the conversation. But it's really helping the women of IPG thrive and educating them and giving them a voice. And the platform that we have this year that was created at the national level that we're bringing to the local LA levels is called She Has a Point. And it's giving women the opportunity to have their voice and teaching them how they can have their voice and reinforcing the support that they have. We've done some programming. One of the things we did was we did a panel with 3 very successful female leaders, one from the Latin Grammys, one from the gaming industry, and one from the film industry. And we talked about defining moments and really understanding how defining moments, small or large, are part of everybody's journey and what those mean and what people do with those along the way. Whether, again, it's yours or something that's happening in society or whatever it might be. And then we've started a virtual book club. We have a mentorship program that we have. And it's really important for me. I've been very lucky in my life and in my career to have great mentors. And again, I'm going to say it, both men and women. And, you know, creating a platform for our employees to have access to that and the programming and the people to create this community is really rewarding. And it's great. I love it. And I have a great committee that supports me and does a lot of the work as well. And it's not all coming from me, but a great group of folks that help contribute to that. But it's been really fun, and we've got a lot of great stuff planned into next year. So I'm super excited.
I love that. And can you share with us, like, what were some of your defining moments, just personally?
Sure. There's been a lot. I guess, you know, as I'm working on a sort of a thought leadership piece around this right now, one of my early defining moments for me was as a junior, my college counselor basically said to me, I was having trouble figuring out kind of what I wanted to do, and before I landed in where I'm in advertising. And he's like, well, don't get too excited about being successful because you're a woman. So that was like one of those things I'll never forget. And the woman who's helping me sort of like articulate all this stuff is on the phone. And her jaw dropped too, Jacqueline, when I said it to her. So it was one of those things for me. I think another defining moment is I had an opportunity to move across country, and it happened very fast. And I said yes. And I could have easily said no. And instead I said yes. And that taught me to not say no and to say yes, be open-minded, even when you think you don't want to be, or you shouldn't, or you're scared. And I tell, it's a funny story, people know this in my life, that my friends made bets that I would make it a year or two in Los Angeles because I moved from North Dakota. And I think that drove me, and I'm year 24. So again, it taught me a lot, that to trust my gut and to say yes, even if you're scared beyond all belief. But it's okay, and you can always go back, right? You can always go back.
I love that you said that, because I was just going to ask you, how did you make that decision to trust your gut? Did you do like a pro and cons? Did you weigh it out in your head, or you just had that feeling and you went for it?
I think the situation at the time, I felt like if I don't do this now, I may never get this opportunity again. And so I felt like I didn't have a choice. I had to go. And despite people, saying, are you sure you want to do this or whatever? And I just knew there wasn't a choice. And I think because I was so scared, I would never get it again. And I think that's really what drove me more than anything. And, moving to Los Angeles is not the worst thing either. So yeah, I guess I just didn't, it was an interesting moment as I look back at it, for sure.
I love that. Thank you for sharing those.
Yeah. Not a problem.
I love those defining moments. I think everyone has those kind of defining moments, and it's really depends on how we respond to them. So opportunities do come with crisis, and that's why we're having the conversation about resilience to rise. And I think, Shirley, you mentioned you have mentors who helped you advance in your career. And tell us about your work in the mentor space. We know that this is something that is very important to you as well. So why do you feel this way, like to constantly give back, mentor young women or men?
Because I had it for myself. I think that we all need a mentor, we need a sponsor, we need an advocate, an ally, whatever it might be. And I think they come in different shapes and sizes. And sometimes you don't even realize you're being a mentor to somebody when you might work with them all day long, or on a project, or at work, or in some charity work that you do, or whatever it might be. I've realized that when some people have come to me and said, XYZ, you've done this for me. And I'm like, I didn't even realize that, my capacity. And I think that's the other thing I've realized, we as people along our career, to either anybody can be inspiration for people and mentors, and you may not even know it. And I think that's always something to remember. But it's important to me. So I think that, and I love developing people. It's one of the reasons that I run the team that I do. And I love seeing people grow and being successful, because I had that for myself, and it was important for me, and I was lucky. So why not? Why wouldn't I want to do that for somebody else?
I love that. And Shirley, we talked a little bit about you managing and overseeing these large teams. So 80% of our community for Feely are female founders running their teams and pretty much in their Series A. How do you lead and incentivize a team virtually? Like, do you have any tips, or are there anything that you have found that you're like, you know what, this works, or I believe this method helps bring us closer together? Because I really feel like we would love that insight, because it's a very tricky, interesting situation right now.
It's tricky. I think one of the things that helps me is I used to travel so much. So even when you're traveling, you still have to manage from afar. So I think for me, where I've stubbed my toe along the way is not listening, right? And being in tune with your team. So, or especially on Zoom, again, paying attention, looking. Just the other day I was on with my team, and I knew something was off with one of them. So we hung up, and I called a woman that works for me, and I'm like, okay, what's going on, right? And if I wasn't paying attention, I think it's easy when you're on these Zoom things or you're, you know how it is. Sometimes I'm on my phone on a Zoom and I'm on this on a Zoom and I got, you know, other things happening. But it's really about listening. And I think that's really important, especially now, because you can't see body language as much and you can't do all those things. And I think really, communication, you know, it's super important. I talk to my leads and even talk to people that don't directly report to me, you know, checking in with folks along the way at other levels, just how are you doing? What's going on? Not even really talking work, but it's
Like,
hey,
do you have virtual happy hours or like
oh yeah, so
that you schedule?
yeah, I have meetings with my team, my direct reports, and then my other teams, I've encouraged them to do what they need to do with their teams, and I pop in every once in a while to say hi because I can't be everywhere. But yeah, they've had talent shows, they do happy hours, they do, you know, they do hat day, they do, you know, they've done all kinds of creative things. I think there's some fatigue right now, and I also think as a leader, giving people a little bit of a break as well. And one of the things that we found recently that we've done is now that all the kids are going back to school, I have my parents, they're like, I can't do a 9 o'clock in the morning status call internally. Clients are one thing, but do we really have to have our team meeting at 9 in the morning when I'm in the middle of Zoom? No, I can move that meeting. It's an internal meeting. So giving people permission and the ability to do what they need to do to have that balance, I think has been something I've learned as well. And we've all learned along the way. And I have a lot of people from the team on this call, as well as my head of HR. So, you know, we partner together to figure all that out. But it's just listening, I think, is really, really important anytime. But I think especially now when you can't be present with people.
Thank you. That's definitely helpful.
Yeah, amazing. And Shirley, like we talk about so much about work, professional life, mentorship, but personally, what do you do for fun or to relax?
Well, I've trying to now that I have some more time, my husband and I are trying to rediscover golf a little bit. So trying to do that. I need to do that more and make a golf appointment or reservation for the weekend. I've gotten back into yoga. I was a big yogi for a long time and didn't do it. And my yoga instructor is now on Zoom, and so I can do it anytime, which is great. I don't have to get in the car and drive 40 minutes, which has been awesome. Just getting back to that because it's good for my brain in that way. And just, again, I think learning to relax, enjoying doing stuff around our house that we just have never had time to do or taken the time because we've been too busy. So that's been really nice as well. And again, like everybody else, watching a lot of content that I maybe wouldn't have taken the time to watch as, you know, all the great stuff as well. So it's a little bit of everything. I think just readjusting and taking time to do some of those things that I don't have time. You don't have time to go do an hour of yoga or to drive across town, or I don't have time to, you know, whatever. So, you know, doing that has been a little bit of a nice change that I definitely need to do more of as well.
That's awesome. And just to, you know, kind of go off that as well, what gives you hope for the future? I mean, some days are harder than others, right? And when you're a leader and you're expected to show up and look great and put on that smile and get everyone rolling in the morning, how do you do it some days when it's a little more challenging, and what gives you that hope to keep going?
You talk yourself into what you need to do in the morning as a leader. And
do you have like a mantra you say in the morning, or do you like
no,
or
no, it's funny. And again, not to make this over female, but I definitely, even for inspiration, realized that I needed to put earrings on and I needed to do my hair. And there's things I needed to do, like just to have my mindset ready versus I'm going to work in my workout gear and my ponytail and whatever, like very different. And for me, it was a mindset thing. I think it's hard. And I think being even honest with my leaders someday of like, I'm having a tough day, right? Like we're all having tough days and being okay with that. But at the same time, my team, they're just good, and the work we do is fun, and we're in this amazing industry, and you know there's still lots of great things happening, and I work with amazing people, and so that helps you know, get up and get going, and that's what I'm here for. They need me for that. And That's why I have the job I have, is to carry everybody, and walk together with everybody to get through this. And it just, you take it day by day. Every day is different, especially in this. Every day is different. Absolutely. There's no one day that's the same. So just giving yourself permission, I guess. I've learned that a little bit.
I like that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think every day is different, and while we take day by day. So what are you most grateful?
What am I most grateful for? My health. Yeah. Number one. I mean, if we don't have our health, we don't have anything. I've mentioned him, my husband, I have an amazing husband and family. And then, I'm grateful for the fact that so many people, have been challenged in this time with losing jobs and those sorts of things. I'm grateful that I have the role that I have and the opportunity that I have. And I think, again, but when it comes down to it, I'm lucky. I'm healthy. I have a great family and a great support system. And, other than that's the most important things to me is really that piece of it.
We love that. Thank you, Shirley. And everyone, we're going to ask you to put your questions in the chat box. It's going to be your time to ask Shirley your questions. We actually had 2 that already came in, but I'm going to ask you one. This is a personal one that I like to ask everybody that comes on this series. So what advice would you give your 22-year-old self if you look back and say, like, girl, these are the things I wish I knew. This is what I wish someone told me. Because we have a few young women who are here with us from high school and from college that we mentor with Feely. And I know they would love to know this question from you.
It's so funny because I moderated a panel about a month ago and I asked them the same question. Like, what would you tell your 25-year-old self? To be open, to say yes, and to not say no out of fear and react quick. Honestly, I think to be open and be and to listen about opportunities. I think early in my career, I definitely was like, I can't do that, or I wouldn't be successful in that, or I'm not good enough for that, or whatever. And again, by taking a few risks, one moving, and one being very hungry, but I think it's just to be open, and you never know where, there's many doors in life and you never know where those are going to, open, what's going to open for you and where it's going to take you. And that would be the one thing that I would definitely share with all of you is to be open. Yeah.
Love it, Shirley. And also we got another question. Before I ask, okay, so Alexa, after my question, we'll let you ask this question. So Shirley, while we have 80% female founders, Feely also has 20% corporate executives, which they are director level or VP level. So for women who are in the corporate world, and our women knows how to ask, our women are very ambitious and driven and hardworking with the integrity and kindness. So do you have some advices for the ladies in our tribe in the corporate world when they want to level up, when they want to become a leader ultimately? Do you have any advices for them?
Find someone within your organization that, again, can be a mentor for you, that is a level above or a level 2 above. Listen, raise your hand, and really, I think also in your role, obviously do the best that you can, but manage up really well and communicate. I think that's also, and again, just raise your hand. I think that's part of it. But find somebody that can mentor you along the way. And again, some people call it a sponsor internally, whatever it might be. But if people don't know you want to grow, and if you don't communicate that, definitely, they need to hear from you. So that would be a couple things I would say for some of the younger folks, especially.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we have 2 questions coming in already. Alexa, are you here? Do you want to ask Shirley yourself?
Alexia, feel free to unmute yourself if you want to come on and ask Shirley.
Okay. Hi, Shirley.
Hi.
Thank you just for taking the time to meet with us today. My question is, do you happen to know if Rogers and Cowan will host remote internships possibly for spring of 2021?
Yes, I think that we will. I can definitely circle back with our HR to confirm that, but we're looking at, all of those different types of programmings. Yes. So, and again, he's shaking his head. Yes, because he's on here. So yes, we can, definitely. So thank you, Fraser.
Love it, love it. We had a private question come in that I'm going to ask you from one of our guests here. They'd love to hear how you see the future of experiential marketing and what clients are feeling or thinking about it and when they're going to return to that space.
You know, it's funny. I think it changes every day. I think that there are brands that are willing to take risks more than others. I think it's about, we know in research that the younger demographic is, for instance, some research we just did for a client in the sport world is willing to come back sooner than others. So I think it's depending on the demographic you're talking about. I think it's about what the event is, who's hosting, who's the partner, all that stuff. There's liability issues. You know, we've also seen some research that until there's a vaccine, people don't want to participate. So there's a lot of moving pieces. I think just like going to dinner and an experiential, like there's just a lot of things, again, with state regulations, country regulations, city regulations that are just a lot of up in the air. What we have seen is our clients that are, again, pivoting and doing other things, whether it's a drive-through concert, a drive-through art show, a digital concert series, a digital live chat with a mentor or a talent or whoever it might be. So I think that we'll continue to pivot. It might be a slow roll in. You know, we've seen sports come back, right? There's some stadiums that have people in stands, some people that don't. So again, everything is a little bit, there's nothing that's the same. No matter where you are. So I don't have that future answer. I think we'll eventually get there. It might be a bit, but as you know, we're in the industry, so obviously we're going to do anything that we can with our clients to help them do what they can in the space and they feel comfortable with, and then, or again, help them market their brand in whichever way that should be outside of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Shirley. And another question from Walise. Walise, do you want to ask Shirley your question?
Yeah, sure. Hi. So
Hi.
My question's related to risk and some of these disruptions that are happening with companies. One that I've experienced before, having worked in journalism, is mergers or departments merging, and they're resulting in some job losses and cuts. And when I was younger, I definitely didn't see I couldn't tell when a ship was sinking. So I wonder if you had any thoughts on how to identify that, particularly now during COVID. And if you do notice a ship being sink, what would you do?
A lot to unpack there. I think, you know, every merger, every business is different. And the reasons behind that are different depending upon the industry, the companies, whatever it might be. So I can't speak for other companies other than mergers happen all day long, everywhere, all the time. It's not just about downsizing. Sometimes it's about upsizing and about doing other things. So I think it really depends on the reason and the why. I think that if it's a publicly held company, I would watch how their stock is doing. I would watch how their results are. If I were in one of those places, I would watch the client. If it's a client-based company, are the clients leaving? Are they staying? Are they, you know, as much as you can with whatever your role is. It's hard to, you know, everybody's role is different. And then I think you just have to ask. You have to ask questions. And there will be questions people can tell you the answers to, things they cannot because of, you know, whatever legal reasons. But I think sometimes you also know, maybe follow your gut a little bit too. Sometimes, you know, our spidey sense as women, we know when there's something wrong, and then to ask the questions. So again, every situation is different. I guess that's just how, it's hard to be blindsided. I know it's never fun to be blindsided at all. But now it's, you know, it's really, I think, about asking questions if you can, and really, you know, trying to understand the strength of the business when and how you can with the information that you have available to you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Shirley. And we have a question from Maggie. So Maggie is actually our mastermind member from our cohort 1. So Maggie is a founding member, and Maggie has her own PR agency. Maggie, are you here? Do you want to ask Shirley yourself?
Yes.
Amazing.
Sorry, I'm on a black screen because I was doing a workout before I hopped on. But
I love it. I love it.
Nice you got to squeeze it in.
You do. Nice to meet you, Maggie.
It's nice to meet you. So I work on the PR side. So obviously there's just a lot of things and sensitivities that go around with that. You know, you don't want to be tone deaf and things. And sometimes clients can be very siloed into what story they think they can get into.
Yep.
And it's constantly managing expectations, I feel like, on my end. And it's not that their stories aren't good. It's just that they don't always want to fit into what's actually being talked about. So I just want to see if you have any advice as far as, you know, if certain clients are coming back to you and push back of, you know, why aren't we seeing X, Y, Z? And it's not that they're not getting any coverage, but it's more that I think the quantity isn't as, you know, robust as they would have liked. And it's just, you know, kind of the nature of, you know, media responses, everybody's being furloughed and stuff like that. But, you know, I feel like I'm saying the same things a lot different ways. So yeah. I just would, you know, curious to hear if you've had experienced the same thing.
I think, listen, you know, I'm not in the day to day, but I talk to my teams. I think that happens even without COVID, right? You know, there's always about managing your clients' expectations and their business, and they always are going to want more no matter what. So it's really, you know, it's hard, and, you know, that's why it's called client service, and it's not easy sometimes in delivering, and, you know, making sure that, you know, you benchmark it with them what success looks like at all points in time. And even in a pivoting situation, saying, you know, the dynamics have changed, you know, we don't have as many folks out there doing stories right now. The media world has completely changed, right? And everything that's happening from a paid and an earned perspective. So it's changing. We face that stuff all the time. And I think as things continue to evolve, I mean, every client's different, as you know. I feel you. I'm not saying I know how to fix it, because we have the same challenges always with our clients, but that isn't just during COVID. I think it's, you know, always on the client side, it's working with them to help, you know, to bring success. And some clients understand the business, you know, the media business, some don't, and you have to educate them and bring them along. And so it's a constant dialogue, I think, with clients, and some are easier than others.
Agree. I appreciate that. It's good to know that I'm, you know, not alone too. So
yeah.
Thanks, Maggie. Camilla has a question. Camilla, do you want to ask Shirley?
Sure. Hi, Shirley.
Hi.
My question for you is, you know, you talk so beautifully about defining moments, and we recently celebrated Women's Equality Day and witnessed the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and RBG did so much for gender balance and for, you know, speaking in the theme of resilience, she did so much to support the resilience of women. Is there work that you're doing with your clients at the agency to create more defining moments in history for women?
Love that.
Well, there's a lot of stuff I can't talk about because it's, you know, proprietary and things that we're working on. We have clients that have work that they do for women's equality. They do work around multicultural. There's a lot of different places for a lot of our clients that we do work that focuses on different communities and how they lift those folks up. So we are, even more now than ever, I think, definitely working with our clients and how they have their voice or their programs that do those sorts of programs, because that's what their consumers are demanding, right? We know that more than ever, you know, people want to support brands that have purpose and that have something to say and authentically have something to say about, you know, about whatever it is. So we do that work all day long with a lot of our clients, depending upon, you know, what it is and their category or their, you know, their brand, et cetera. But definitely, you know, brands with purpose and, again, that have authentic stories to tell is super important.
Awesome. Thank you, Shirley. And we have time for just probably like one or two more questions, but our queen of questions, our producer, Kate, has a great question for you. So I'm going to let Kate come on and ask you directly. Kate, you're on mute.
I'm unmuting. Well, thank you so much for being here, Shirley. Really, it's a pleasure, and your career speaks volumes for what it is to see a woman really rise and bring others along. And so we just want to just let you know, and I personally want to let you know, thank you for being here. But
it's been fun. Thank you.
yes, no, you know, you're remarkable, and it's wonderful to see how the dynamic has shifted with women in terms of how we are bringing each other up. It's now there's more seats at the table, and so it's not so competitive, and it's really wonderful to see that shift in how women treat one another. And being a little older, it wasn't always that way. So that
is true.
I just wanted to know, you know, you work in such a dynamic space in Rogers and Cowan PMK, and you focus on PR, talent, experiential. For those younger people who are looking to get into this space, what do you value in terms of employees? What are you looking for? What skill set do you want them to bring to the table? You know, is a bigger focus on PR more important? Is, you know, a communications background with a, you know, opportunity to, you know, be a brand ambassador? I mean, what do you look for in terms of, you know, people that you bring onto your team? And you speak so highly of them, so you obviously have something in mind.
Well, I guess it depends on the role, right? So if we're hiring a publicist versus hiring somebody as a client lead, or, you know, somebody who would be out executing something from an influencer perspective, whatever, I think, so the skill sets of those things are important, right? If someone that maybe has that experience or wants to get into that work has a lean that way, I think that understanding having a curiosity is really important for us. Being curious about the work, being curious, for me, and this is important, being curious about brands. We work for brands, right? Those are our clients, and understanding and taking the time to be curious about the brands you work with and learning their business and having that passion for that. And then I think, because we're in this lifestyle space, people that are a little bit of, you know, culture creatures are great. People that live this lifestyle, that understand what's going on in culture and lifestyle, that our brands want so much to be a part of and to talk to those consumers through. It's really important to have someone that, you know, if you want to, it doesn't have to be, but if you want to work on a music program and you go, I don't like music, like, you know, I think, you know, people want to do work what they're passionate about, and we like to see that as well. And you know, if you have a passion about something, it helps, you know, fuel the fire to want to work on something as well. So again, a lot of different roles in our organization. And I think, you know, people that are open-minded and that are collaborative, you know, we have a collaborative environment, and that's really important to us. And folks that work that way is super important, because we don't work in silos. And, you know, that's taught, I think, sometimes as well. And so with a younger person, we can teach them how that works. And with somebody coming in with a little more experience, it's really important that we have that, because team is the only way we're going to be successful as well. So hopefully that answers your question. I guess it depends on the role and what level you are when you're coming in.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Shirley, you are incredible. What a power.
Oh, you guys, my husband's going to tell me my ego's going to go out the door. Come on.
No,
He's still on the phone.
Such a powerhouse. We're so grateful for you being here with us, sharing your time with us tonight. Thank you so much. So if you can leave us with one thing, like one thing, keep going, staying motivated, surrendering, right? You talk a lot about like just taking the risk and taking that leap. What's the one piece of advice you'd want to leave us with here today?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you. This has been really fun. I appreciate everybody's time and listening. And I definitely, I've got a lot of room yet to grow and a lot of things in my career left to do. And just know that your journey is your journey, and own it. And you know, lean into those people around you, mentors, whoever it is, to help you along the way, because you need those folks. Everybody needs that as well. I guess I would say one. There's bigger career than there's now. I think, and I mentioned curiosity. I think being curious is really important, and ask a lot of questions, and don't be afraid of that, because if you don't ask, you don't know. And be open. I'm just going to go back to that. Be really open about what life might bring you. I've lost jobs, right? And I've been devastated, but that was in both occasions the best thing that ever happened to me. So, because I had to be open to something else, but be open. And I think be patient. Patience is maybe a little bit learned, but patience is important. And I think good things will come if you sort of, you know, sow the seeds that, and take the time to do those things, but be patient, and it will happen, and it will come. a thing that I've had to learn in my career is to be patient. So that would be one thing I would tell everybody.
Great advice. I'm still learning.
Yeah, we all are. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm learning how to be patient more and more. And sometimes you need to practice. Yeah. So everyone, thank you so much. So thank you so much for spending 1 hour of your day with us, Philly. So Philly stands for tribe. We just dropped our link in the chat box. So we have our mastermind group opening. The second cohort, we accept the applications, and we have already accepted some amazing women. So if you are interested in us, check us out, and we will be waiting for you for our next Resilience to Rise. And Shirley, thank you so much. We wish we could see you in New York City once pandemic ends, and when you fly in, please let us know. And hopefully in the future, we do more events, and we can do events and have you in person.
I'd love to be involved. Thank you so much, Kate, for reaching out. It's been so much fun. Great to meet all of you, and good luck with everything. And thanks again. Take care. Be safe and healthy.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Shirley.
Bye.